We've got Q3 numbers from Costco. We'll take a look at them. We'll also take a look at the technical chart pattern as well. See what this one is saying. What is going on, investors? Hopefully, guys are doing well out there. Time to take a look at Costco Wholesale Corporation, otherwise known as COST. Year-to-date, shares of Costco up 22%. Over the past year, up 62%. 5 years, 10 years, any way you look at this, it is absolutely sensational. Now, full disclosure, I own shares of Costco, and I cannot give a formal recommendation to buy stocks of shares that I own. So take all of that for what it's worth, including the attorneys that may or may not be watching the video. So I can't recommend you buy Costco, but we can certainly talk about it. Revenue coming in at $58.52 billion. That was up 9.1% year over year. It beat expectations by about $520 million. Speaking of those expectations, it was for $58 billion. So the 58.52 definitely coming over and top those expectations. Now, the expectations for the upcoming quarter, the Q4, not as rosy, at least from a growth perspective, just 1% growth priced in, but it happens to be the biggest quarter over at Costco. I guess maybe everybody's off for the summer. They're stocking up maybe on camping trips and all those types of things. $79 billion quarter expected. Now you're expected to reaccelerate to the high single digits for the subsequent quarters. So for whatever reason, analysts expecting maybe some kind of pause, at least in the sales growth for the upcoming quarter, that is then supposed to reaccelerate really out into the next several quarters. Now, one thing that everybody is watching is those membership fees, which have not gotten bumped up since 2017. The company has been kind of on a 5 or 6 year price hike. They raised prices on the membership fees back in 2006, then again in 2011, and now the last time you had a membership hike was back in 2017 when they raised it by about $5 to $10. When we get over to the financials, you'll see that those membership fees drive a lot of the profits that this company has. And obviously any raise in those fees, a lot of that happens to flow down to the bottom line of the company. But either way, with Costco, you're getting, like, I would consider this like decent growth. Some people even maybe consider this kind of mediocre growth. But when we come over here and look at the cash flows, what they're using, the cash flow that they're generating from the business, you're getting like outperformance from the shares. This is, well, you know, one of the reasons why this is one of the companies that I continue to hold. Now, we'll come over here to the financials. Total revenue coming in at $58.5 billion. We talked about how that beat expectations by about $500 million. Your membership fees coming in at $1.1 billion. Last year was a shade over $1 billion. Here's your merchandise sales. It came in at $57.4 billion. As you know, this company just marks the inventory up in the stores by a low single digit. $51.2 billion in cost to generate that $57.4 billion. So they make a little bit of money on that $57 billion in sales, but this $1.1 billion in membership fees, a lot of that flows down here to the operating income. Over the last year, despite the inflationary environment, this is a company that already pays its workers probably an above average rate in terms of an hourly salary. $4.8 billion up to $5.2 billion. So we added about $5 billion to the revenue side. Now about $500 million of it transferred over into the operating income. You went from 1.7 up to about $2.2 billion. The company has a mountain of cash, not a lot of interest or debt to pay it off. And after they pay their income taxes, you went from 1.3 billion. This is the bottom line net income, up to $1.7 billion. Now we'll come down here to the balance sheet. Company has a lot of cash, over $10.4 billion, balanced off by very few amount of debt compared to some retailers and even some tech companies out there. This is a very financially conservative company, if I were to use that word. Now, one thing I did want to point out on the balance sheet is when you look at a retailer, you want to take a look at inventory. Sometimes inventory levels in the current quarter, and this is as of May 12th, sometimes inventory levels can be a leading indicator for demand that the company is expecting. We are expecting, again, the Q4, the upcoming quarter, to be explosive from a sales perspective, $79 billion. So you would expect a build in inventory. Unfortunately, on the financial reports, we are getting compared back to September, which is not really comparable. So what I like to do is pull up last year's quarterly filing, and we see merchandise inventory as of May 7th, which is almost a year ago, was at 16.3. So we have built the inventory up to 17.4, again, higher than the 16.3. Now, some of that can be inflation, food inflation, goods inflation. It's just Costco is paying more for the inventory. But part of it also could be that Costco's just expecting a very good quarter because they're building up inventory in anticipation of those sales coming in. Now, here's what's really nice about Costco. We get a 36-week view on the cash flows. As of May 12th, we had $5 billion of net income. Last year, you were sitting at about $4.2 billion. After you do some depreciation, which the company has a fair amount of, a little bit of stock-based compensation, here's your cash flow by the operating activities coming in at $8.4 billion. Last year, we're closer to $7.4 billion. Now, what do they spend this $8.4 billion on? Now, they are doing some addition to property, plant, and equipment to the tune of about $3.1 billion. Last year was $2.8 billion. So you burned through about $2.7 billion. They paid a special dividend over the past 36 weeks, $8.5 billion worth of dividends. Last year was just $800 million because that special dividend did not fall in that period of time. And I think it's a special dividend that they only give every maybe couple of years. They also repurchased the common stock to the tune of about $484 million, although that is more than offset with the stock-based compensation that they give to employees and executives. So it's not really a true formal buyback. Your biggest payday at Costco is in the form of a buyback, and the other big payday that will come, although it will likely be priced in the shares to a certain degree, is a price hike on those membership fees, as eventually Costco will pass one of those down. But I think they're probably thinking passing it down right now might not be in good taste and may draw too many headlines, as it is certainly something that would be a sign of the times, at least from an inflationary perspective. Now, you guys know on the channel, technically, I love these channels. Now, you got to get into a logarithmic scale to get a view of these channels. And logarithmic scale really, for me, just gives me a better view of the trend. You can have it on, you can have it off. If you're day trading, it's something that you actually might want to have off. But for the longer term person looking for the longer term trend, you hit that logarithmic scale and you get these beautiful trend patterns that emerge. This one is dating back to like 1987. I mean, I was in kindergarten back in I think it was 1987. I was in kindergarten. So this one's been around a long time, and this trend has been intact. Now, more recently, we were trading at the top of the channel. We have gone on long stretches where we've traded at the top of the channel, but it hasn't always been the best time to accumulate shares of Costco. You're probably waiting for some type of pullback. Usually it's towards the middle of the channel. Certainly any deeper pullback, I can't tell you that you should buy shares if you get that deeper pullback, but you can look at this chart and make that decision for yourself. Folks, that was Costco's Q3, humming right along. If you're overweight tech stocks, if you got a basket of stocks that looks all techy, well, I tell you what, maybe Costco can balance some of that out. But again, you have to make that decision on yourself. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with another video soon. Good luck with your investments.